Ducks fans, are you ready? You are listening to the Ducks and Pucks podcast. This is the #1 home for Anaheim Ducks talk and analysis. Here we go.
Welcome to the show. This is your host, Mike Walterslaw, my co-host, Eddie Richard, and we are back. Finally, we've been kind of busy the last couple weeks, so as a result, we have a loaded show for you again. Plenty of things to discuss, several games to talk about. The Ducks finally got off the losing streak. Of course, they only won a couple and then lost again, but hey, they broke that 9-game crazy losing streak, so we'll talk about that. Plenty of injury news with the team, unfortunately, lately. If you want rumors, we've got plenty of rumors as well on this show. They've been heating up, of course, during this losing streak, which is kind of expected. So we'll talk about that. And as well, the league news, we'll talk a little bit towards the end, along with some fan questions to cover all this stuff. So we'll kind of dive into it. Like we've done in the past, we won't recap all the games necessarily. We'll just kind of break down some of the paired up matchups, because most of these games are 2-2 basically that the Ducks are playing this season. They did finish off the month of February with one game against Vegas, which this game was kind of interesting because the Ducks actually played well in this one. They ended up losing, but the bigger news is what we talked about in the last show, Eddie, is that Adam Henrique returned finally. If you remember, there was a lot of speculation that he was going to get traded. He got sent down on waivers. He then cleared the waivers. As I wrote about in my article, he ended up going on the taxi squad for a while, and they brought him back up and on the team. So I thought that was a good boost, bringing him back, seeing him score as well. And it looked like the Ducks had this game in overtime. Fleury just making a bunch of crazy saves. Otherwise, the Ducks would have won this. But even though this was also still in the middle of this losing streak, this game, I thought the Ducks played decent. They outshot Vegas. They dominated in the faceoff circle, and they kept them off the scoreboard on the power play too, Eddie. It was one of those nights where they just came up short in overtime.
Yeah, they also out-hit the Golden Knights 32-19, so that you saw that physicalness come out of them. It wasn't a bad game. Yeah, they did lose the game. They extended their losing streak and their winless streak in February, but this is one of those games I talk about where you can take this loss, but you can hold your head up high and say you tried and gave it everything you've got. Unfortunately, they ran into a really hot goaltender right now with Fleury, who made some spectacular saves, and I think he was the main contributing factor as to why the Ducks did lose this game. Henrique coming back, starting on the third line and working himself up, and then him scoring that goal and getting all the love from his teammates. I think him being back in the lineup energized the team, and everyone was trying to play, a little bit better, for him, and trying to get him. I'm sure everyone was trying to get him that goal, hey, that welcome back goal, and hey, I belong here kind of goal. That's how I kind of took it. I like how they fought coming back from behind. They didn't back down. They kept going. Unfortunately, former Ducks, Carlson had something to say about that, having a good game. And it seems like Carlson and Theodore, these former Ducks, always seem to get some points or have more of an elevated game when they play the Ducks.
Yeah, both of them. They seem highly motivated. So, two names you don't want to hear too often. And then when they do well against the Ducks, is added frustration there. You mentioned the Ducks coming back. We saw a little of that return in some of these games where the Ducks were getting down and then starting to fight back. We remember the comeback kids, which was a big thing for the Ducks. We remember them coming back in third periods, which was another thing. We even had that T-shirt, which I started posting the logo of that again, talking about the third period is ours and that they can come back. And we saw that too when they played against the St. Louis Blues. They lost both these games, but in the first one, the Ducks got down 4-1, and you thought that this game was over. And then you had Lundstrom pretty much taking over, getting his first hat trick. He got 2 goals in the third period after his first one to do that and to get the Ducks back into it. And the Ducks ended up coming up short. We've seen Zegras play some more games too. You had some excitement here. He tried the Michigan play, right? Looked like he was about to score. We're very, very close. And everybody going nuts on the internet about that. So some good things in this game. Like we said, you're seeing the younger guys play a little better and get some more ice time. But, getting down 4-1, never a good thing, especially not against the St. Louis Blues in this first game. And, same thing, they got down in the second game 2-0 to St. Louis. They were able again to rally like we talked about, coming back a couple times in that game, but they fell short in that one 3-2. So kind of a theme in both these games. The Ducks got down by multiple goal margins, which was the bad part of them. The good thing is that they did rally, even though they came up short in these two. So, that's kind of the takeaways of these two games. But unfortunately, the losing streak continued, Eddie.
Yeah, and that Michigan attempt was amazing. Almost had it a little bit lower, and that would have been his first NHL goal, and that would have been the absolute greatest that you could have seen. That it would have absolutely destroyed the internet. People would have been going nuts, and that would have been just so great to see. I hope he tries this again for his first NHL goal. I think it would be something special, and I know that fan a few shows ago asked how the Ducks can get more on the radar and the spotlight. Obviously, a goal like that for his first NHL goal would definitely get the Ducks on the spotlight and have everyone talking for a while, especially in the hockey world. It was a good kind of hard-fought game for them to come back and try to make it interesting. Of course, a lot of fans question if Aikens did pull Gibson too early because Getzoff scored after the Blues scored on the empty net. So it's kind of unsure what I can say about that. I know he was just trying to be desperate out there and get that extra skater out there to provide something, but who knows? I guess it worked for Patrick Wall back in the day when he pulled the goalie. I think it was like 8 minutes left in the third period, and the Avs were down by 2 against Boston, and he pulls the goalie with 8 minutes. I thought that was kind of bizarre too. But that the Lundestrom kid really broke out of his shell. He's been itching for a game like this, and he finally his hard work got rewarded. He had a few of the chances again in Vegas to earn them a win. Just Fleury just was standing on his head. It's really cool to see this kid starting to find his groove and I want to call it swag. Hopefully he can find that consistent scoring and kind of just be one of those top 6 players that Ducks desperately need and get some more goals on the board. I think what really killed the Ducks once again, and we always talk about this, is the power play. They only had 1 goal out of the 4 chances, which that's probably a significant improvement from all the 0 opportunities or 0 chances they actually score on the power play. So I guess that's the silver lining in that. But it wasn't too bad of a game, but it wasn't that great of a game. It's just kind of in between right there.
Yeah, and that's kind of been the theme for the Ducks. One thing that's been kind of concerning is the penalty kill, which had been very, very good this season. We saw start to decline. In that first game against St. Louis, they gave up 1 power play goal. And then in the second one, they gave up 3 power play goals on all 3 power play attempts. So, they give up 4 power play goals in these 2 games, which wasn't good. And that's something that's kind of a theme we'll talk about a little bit later on when we go over the stats. But, one thing to look at that wasn't a good thing. One thing that'll make some of you happy, because, a lot of people are kind of upset about Zegras' ice time. He had a lot of ice time in these 2 games. Actually, these were the games where he really played a lot. Yeah, the previous games, he was only averaging, 13, 14 minutes, somewhere in there. This first game against St. Louis, he had 17 and a half minutes. And then the second one, he had 20 and a half minutes, which was his highest. So he got a lot more time in there. He also got his first NHL point, a broken play on assist. I know there was confusion at different plays that he's been on where they thought and maybe he had scored or whatnot, but he ends up getting an assist on this one. He gets another assist later in these games. He's still looking for his first goal, as we talked about, but he's at least getting points. He's getting chances, and here he did get more ice time. So that was the good thing in these 2 games, seeing that, and then seeing the young players, like you said, Lundstrom getting a hat trick, and things like that. So even though the Ducks were losing these games, we saw them try and come back in both of them. We've seen Zegras get more ice time and some of the younger guys get more ice time. So I thought that was good, signs for this team pointing in the right direction. And, then they played against your other favorite team, 2 games against the Colorado Avalanche. The Ducks lose the first, but then, win the second. They finally, thank God, get rid of that losing streak that we've all been stressing out about. Or maybe not. Maybe you want the top draft picks here, like keep on losing, right, Eddie? You and I kind of talked about that before the show, but they did at least break it in these 2 games. And to me, one thing I've noticed, even with these Blues games and Av games, even though obviously the Ducks lost 3 out of 4 of these, but the games have definitely been more entertaining, Eddie. With the Ducks, they get down, they rally, they come back, or they have like these seesaw battles with the Avs. So if you're, like one of those people, because I've had people hit me up like, I'm not watching the games anymore, they're losing, whatever. I do have to say that at least some of these recent games have been at least a little bit more entertaining, even when the Ducks do lose.
Oh yeah, it was fun to watch against the Avalanche. They were a really fast and exciting team. They were without Cale Makar and Nathan McKinnon, but they still were able to get things done and have their depth players provide goals for them. But it was I guess it was a good loss. I know no loss is ever good, but a game like this, once again, you can hold your head up high with that pride. You went out there, you played a sound game. At times, you were outplaying the Avalanche. They were chasing around. It's just unfortunate. During overtime, you left Niskanen out there, and he just kind of powers his way and scores on that OT to win it for the Avs in that first game. But it wasn't that bad of a game. For fans that don't want to watch anymore because you're frustrated, I understand. I get it. But a game like this was something that's really entertaining, and it was really fun to watch. It's too bad the Ducks just couldn't get that point, extra point in overtime. And if you thought that game was even good, the second game was even better. The 5-4 overtime win. We had Troy Terry scored a highlight reel goal that was ranked number 2 on the top goals on NHL Network, I believe it was. But it was just something beautiful, something where I was rewinding it a few times just to watch it over and over and over again. It was such a beautiful and pretty goal. And the Ducks really played hard this game, and they battled like they really wanted this win. They didn't let the elevation for that second day get to them or tie them down. They went out there ready and willing to really go and get a win to break that winless streak, and they did it, and that was really good to see. The only thing I had on this game where it was kind of like, okay, the questionable thing was Zegras not being in the lineup, him getting scratched, which I understand the whole, you don't want to burn a year off his entry-level contract. But if you're not going to send him down, why scratch him? That was the only thing I kind of was annoyed with this game, as they didn't have Zegras in there. The Ducks did take advantage of being on the power play, went 2 for 2. I want to say this is the first time all season they actually converted on all the power plays they've gotten. I can't recall a game where they scored on every power play they had, but that was good. Raquel had been heating up. He had a goal and an assist on that last 5-4 overtime win, so it's good to see him starting to pick up the pace after a slow start.
Yeah, you talk about Raquel. He has been on fire lately, scoring points left and right, and he will be a topic of discussion in the rumor section later on in this podcast, as he is probably the number 1 talked about person right now, along with a handful of other players. But absolutely, he has been, he looked like he'd been waiting to break out this season. I don't think his play was that horrible to start, and now he's scoring goals and assists like crazy. He has 12 points in his last 7 games as we work through these, but definitely, turning it up, or at least on the score sheet, you're seeing it now. And the Ducks, like we said, played entertaining games. They actually were ahead in both of these games. I was a little frustrated with the first one when they let that one get away. And then the second one, they let it get away too. And I know a lot of you thought this game was over, but then the Ducks rallied late, got a couple goals, and then they ended up going into overtime and winning with Getzlaf, of all things, on the power play. Like you said, Eddie, I don't remember, I don't know if they had any games this season where they actually scored in all their power play opportunities. I think this is the only one. But so, some good things in there. We also saw Manson returned in the 5-4 overtime game, which was good to see. Of course, now he's hurt again, as that will be another topic we'll discuss in the injury section. But he did return. The thing that a lot of people questioned about Aikens and his coaching, a lot of you are upset about Zegras and his ice time, which I totally get. And then in these 2 games, we saw something that the Ducks don't usually do. They went with 11 forwards and 7 defensemen in both of the games. And I wasn't really that upset with it in the I guess the beginning, the first time they did it. It kind of made sense that they did it, and I just don't really know why they did it in the second game, to do both like that and then take out Zegras as well. I don't know. I think they kind of go hand in hand in this one, because you had him scratched that second game. I think you could have played him I know with Manson, maybe they were trying to work him back in or something like that. Or maybe he wasn't 100% because, like I said, he got hurt again. So maybe that would have been part of it. But I just thought that was weird, Eddie, the strategy of going 11 forwards and 7 defensemen. Not in the first game so much, but doing it twice. I don't know. What did you think? I mean, I know a lot of times coaches kind of overthink some stuff with the higher elevation and whatnot and doing that back-to-back. Do you think that was something in there? Or maybe it was just the fact that Manson was back or just a strategy that Aikens thought would work against your other favorite team, the Avs?
Yeah, I have no idea. Like you said, the first game, I understand that it's Manson's first game back in a while, and then to play over there in Denver with the elevation, that can really kick your butt over there, especially for these, like, you hear interviews and these professional athletes, the ones that play over there against the Broncos, ones that play against over here against the Avs, and the ones that play against the Rockies, they all say the same thing, that elevation really gets to them. Like, when you go and visit it over there, you're getting a headache already. Just being over there, it takes a while to kind of get used to the elevation. So I don't know if that played a factor. But in that second game, when he already got up to speed, he got that first game out of the way, it didn't really make sense for him to do that second game unless he didn't want to change anything or change any of the momentum the Ducks had that first game against the Avalanche and wanted to do everything the same way. Obviously, it worked out because they actually got the win and they broke that winless streak. But I don't know. It could have been Manson just wasn't like 100% ready to go and have that to run the 6th defenseman and have all those minutes kind of piled on him that soon. Who knows? It's kind of weird in my book too. But at least it worked out that second game and they got the win. So I guess that's all that pretty much matters.
Yeah, I mean the games weren't pretty, but. I mean, they started out good. Both games, like we said, they got leads, and then they let them slip, which was the bad part, obviously, in these. But they got 3 points out of 4 against a really good Colorado team. As we talked about, we knew it was going to be tough when them and St. Louis came over into this division. So for them to at least do that here was decent. We also saw some milestones, too. Getzlaf's overtime goal was his 35th career overtime point, which tied him with one of my favorites, Jaromir Jagr, for 4th all-time on that list. And then, of course, another favorite of a lot of you out there, Ryan Miller, got his 389th win in that overtime game, tying another great player, Dominic Hasek, for 14th all-time on the list for goalie wins. So some good stuff there. Another thing to talk about in these 2 games, Eddie, that you and I also discussed at the Lake Tahoe game, because your Avs were involved in that too, is we got to see them bust out those badass Nordique jerseys, which I loved, and then the Ducks were going with their orange jerseys. I really like that look in this matchup. I mean, I like the old school Mighty Ducks, like everybody else does. I like the orange ones too, even though they're the newer colors. And I did like that. I thought it was fun to see them playing in those jerseys for these 2 games, Eddie.
Yeah, it was kind of different. You see the Avalanche wearing their reverse retro against the Ducks those back-to-back nights, and the Ducks wearing their orange ones. I'm kind of glad a little bit the Ducks went with the orange ones. It's because something really different. And it's, who really benefit from that, seeing all those Ducks fans that went over there to Ball Arena to watch. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. There's no Avs over there watching, or there's no fans watching the games at these arenas right now. So, no, all jokes aside, it was actually something different, and it was fun to see. I wish teams would do this more often, kind of swap the jerseys around and have them wear their away or the Ducks alternate at some other location, to do it at Staples Center or somewhere else. So I kind of like seeing things, not all the time, but I like it here and there. I don't want it to become frequent like basketball, where they're wearing God knows what jersey. It's like every time I go watch the Lakers with my buddy, they have a different jersey on. I'm like, oh, okay, what are these? And oh, this is the month of November special editions. I was like, wait, what? Just month of November. But yeah, I think that was fun to see. And those Avalanche jerseys, they're so nice. They were really, really beautiful. I still think they're the best reverse retro jerseys in the league. The Ducks did announce too that they're going to wear their reverse retro jerseys on March 16th versus Colorado and on April 23rd versus Vegas. It's kind of odd they're only wearing those twice though. It seems kind of a wasted opportunity to only wear those twice. Maybe some issues sprung up with the jerseys that a lot of players didn't want to wear them, or the coaching staff didn't want to wear them. Something like the St. Louis incident happened years ago. I don't know. They should have just kept it simple and brought back the eggplant jersey, and everyone would have been happy. And they probably would have wore it multiple times more than just two.
Yeah, and I've heard from some of you out there too that you're really not happy about the fact that they, one, that they went with that jersey. We knew that people were split on that when we did our poll. I remember there were a lot of people that either A, didn't like the Wild Wing jersey, or like you said, they liked it, but they didn't like the coloring. So, there's kind of a mix there of, it was just weird. Either people really liked it or they really didn't. And the fact that they're only having it for 2 games, I'm with you, Eddie. I think that's just kind of a disservice because you see a lot of these other teams are wearing them, 5, 6, 7 games and whatnot. And I'm with you. I really like Colorado's alternate ones. I like Vegas's too. Calgary. There's a bunch of good ones out there. And we actually had a fan question. I think she's talking about any jersey. I don't know if they're specific, but we had Kristen Miranda 509 asked about our favorite and least favorite jerseys. I don't know if she's talking about everything or whatnot, but I think we mentioned this before. For me on the Ducks, it's always been that Stadium Series orange jersey. I love that one. For some reason, I just like the black on the sides and the Web D on that one. For me, that's my favorite with the Ducks. This Wild Wing one, I don't know. I don't know if it's my least favorite. I don't hate it, but I'm with some of you. I'm not as excited about it as much. So for the Ducks, that's kind of where I'm at. I also like the one that we mentioned before, the black and purple where it says Anaheim Ducks just across it. It's like none of the logos, completely unique and different. That one was back in, I want to say 95 or 96, somewhere in the 90s. That was another one I really liked, Eddie. But I don't know if there's any ones that you really like or dislike that you want to throw out there too, just because we had this question about jerseys.
I finally got my hands on a premier Cam Fowler Stadium Series jersey after years and years of searching. I finally got my hands on one of those, but now I'm trying to get after an authentic one. And I found one online for like $800, but that's kind of way above my budget. I know those skyrocket real high, and it took me years to get this Cam one. But I like that jersey too. But my favorite would have to be that black and the eggplant color kind of one. It says just Anaheim Ducks.
Right.
Or it says like Mighty Ducks.
Yeah, that's the one I was talking about.
I think that one just. My all-time favorite. I think it's beautiful. Their new reverse retro jersey, I don't like the screen print, and I don't like a lot of the material and how light it is. I don't like that portion of it, but the jersey is growing on me. I wore it a few times, so I don't hate it, but it's not one of my favorites. My least favorite are those alternate ones when they had a home and away alternate. I own a few of them, or a couple of them, just to collect them, but it's just not one of those jerseys that are really nice, and those would have to be my least favorite Ducks ones. But at least they had the Mighty Ducks logo on it, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, I know we talked about this before, but it's always fun to talk about jerseys. Like, who doesn't like to talk about jerseys, and who doesn't like to complain that Ducks don't have the eggplant jerseys? Because I'm sure there's 95% of you that still complain that the Ducks don't have it, and I'm probably one of those 95% that complain about that. But it's kind of odd too, Mike. I want to go back to the Ducks schedule on the reverse retro. I get wearing it against Vegas. I don't understand wearing it against Colorado, though. It seemed like it'd probably go back, if you want to wear the old school, just to kind of wear it against the Kings and have the Kings wear that dark purple jersey and play a game against the Kings, especially when they had that 5-game consecutive games coming up to end the season. It seemed to be more, I don't know, something more marketing wise to wear at that point. It doesn't make sense to wear it against Colorado, but hey, I don't make those decisions, and at least we get 2 games. It could be worse. We can get 0 games of seeing the Ducks wear those.
Yeah, you're right. It's interesting with the Kings going with their retro, purple and gold. It would be perfect for the Ducks. And like you said, we just played the Kings here for 2 games, and you could have had it then. They didn't, and then like you mentioned, they're going to have that long streak where I think that's probably going to be what's going to keep us entertained because, like we said, the way the Ducks are going right now, making the playoffs or making a push to win anything of significance is not what this team's about right now. It's more about trying to figure out, the process and what's going to happen. But the Ducks did play the Kings twice, recently, and they ended up these games were complete opposites. I don't know what happened. So, the Ducks, like we said, they came out, they beat Colorado in that game. Then they had a wild game with the Kings, with just scoring, going back and forth. The Ducks kept pulling ahead. The Kings kept coming back. It looked like the Ducks were going to cruise to a victory. I felt like they let off the gas a little bit too much in the first game. Kings came back, but then the Ducks were able to pull it out in overtime and get the win. Henrique, he's up to his 6th goal there, and he's piling away, like doing great now since he's been back, going through all that nonsense that we've talked about. But a fun game, an exciting game, like we talked about. Most of these games have been that way. With Zegras in there, it seems like he's interjected some energy, and the Ducks have played a little bit more up-tempo. I know sometimes that's the opponent too. The Ducks tend to skate faster against LA and against Colorado, things like that. And then they play the Kings in the second game, and then they lay a big fat duck egg. There's just no other way to describe it. The game after that was like probably one of the worst ones this season. I don't know what the F happened in that game. They got blown out 5-1. Kind of disappointing because you had this big losing streak. Then you had several of these crazy back and forth high intensity games. They got 2 wins back to back. The only second time that's happened in the shortened season. And you're again going against LA, your rival. You just played a really good back and forth game where you almost blew them out, but you let them back in and you pulled out a win. And then this other one, I was really disappointed, Eddie. The second game, it just completely opposite games, just very strange.
Yeah, and I'll start off talking about the second game so I can end my kind of spiel on a positive note. But okay, let's start off with the 5-1 loss, even though it was the second game played. It was terrible. They looked out of it. I think the only positive thing about this game is Vinny Lettieri was the 3rd star of the game for some reason on this game. So that was pretty good to see a player like him, how hard he's been working to be in the lineup. So that was good to see. But Ducks just looked flat. There's too many opportunities for the Kings, left players open, allowing these players to get that second opportunity. And this time the Kings capitalized on it. And the Kings seem like a team that kind of waits until you make that mistake to capitalize on that. I've heard one of the announcers mentioning that too. And that's the way that's their style of play. And it doesn't hurt that the Kings have production from their veterans. Like Kopitar and Doughty are just playing like they're 10 years ago. They're playing some really good hockey. And this rookie goalie, the Kings decided to just bring in the last minute and start him. Like I'm not sure if he was actually that good or the Ducks played that bad to make him look that good. But this 5-1 loss, the freaking Kings scoring 4 goals against the Ducks because the Ducks scored 1 on themselves. It was just bad. It was just a terrible game to see. Everyone thought this game was going to be more entertaining, more closer, especially how the Ducks got their second win of this month, and this is only their second time they actually got consecutive wins throughout this season. The last one coming was in January 26th when they beat Arizona 1-0. Prior to that, they beat Colorado 3-1 on the 24th. So this is the only second time they won consecutive games. I was thinking they were going to beat the Kings, but they didn't. So let me go back to the first game now, since I talked about it out of order, which kind of doesn't make any sense now, but I don't want to just keep talking about the negativity on it. Okay, let's talk about the fun thing now. The first game was awesome. The first game was entertaining. You got the little feel of the freeway face-off minus the fights. I wanted to see more fights than that, but this was a pretty entertaining game. And then, of course, you have Zegras, just that beautiful pass, stopping the goalie, bringing everyone just kind of watching him, fighting Henrique, and it's just all Henrique had to do was just have his stick down in the ice, and Zegras did everything. But it was a really fun game. The Kings surprisingly only took 1 penalty, one penalty was called on the Kings. It doesn't mean that, I have rephrased that. And, so we all know the refs are sometimes weird, and sometimes they're on vacation too, or I think they have their mask over their eyes sometimes. Who knows? Ducks did not convert, but it doesn't matter. The Ducks still got the 6-5 win, and it doesn't matter if the Ducks are a Stanley Cup contending team or dead last in the league. It's always a good day when you are able to beat the Kings. The icing on the cake is my buddy hits me up with a last minute bet saying, hey, $20, the Kings will beat the Ducks tonight. I took the bet and I beat him, so I won $20. So I ended up donating that $20 too. So it was just still a moral victory on both ends for me.
Well, good thing you bet on the first game and not the second game, so that worked out for you there. But it's just weird sequence here with these 2 games. So we'll kind of move to the next segment and talk about all the hot topics with the team that's going on. You mentioned Zegras in there. Zegras has now played that 7-game minimum this season to burn that first year of his entry-level contract. Normally it's 10 games, but the shortened season is down to 7. We'll kind of go over some of the stats here. A lot of people questioning the ice time, which, like we said, in St. Louis, it was much higher, 17 and a half minutes, 20 and a half minutes. But then it went back down, right? He got scratched in one of the Colorado games. The other one he played 13 minutes. The one where the Ducks did well and beat the Kings, he only played 8 minutes and 46 seconds, which was kind of weird. And then he went back up to 16 and a half in the losing effort. So his ice time's been all over the place. So far, he's played a total of 8 games. He's got 2 assists. He's been +2 on the ice. And he did have a good shootout goal back against Arizona last month, but obviously it's not a regulation goal, so it's not considered his first goal. But it's an interesting situation having him up here because people, I think, have mixed feelings now. Everybody wanted him up; they wanted him to play, but now people are frustrated with the. I guess it was the lack of ice time in the beginning. Now it's more kind of inconsistent because we have seen him get in there and get a lot of good time, but then other times he's pulled back and then he's scratched. So some people are frustrated that he did burn that first year, and now it's kind of like the Ducks might as well keep playing him because I mean, what are you going to do now? I mean, you're not trying to preserve anything at this point anymore. Whereas other people were kind of like, hey, once he got scratched, there was that whole discussion. Is he going to go back down and just stay there? He's at the 6 games. Let's not go to number 7. People were trying to figure out what was going to happen, right? Because we didn't know for a little bit. And then obviously we found out. For me, I think the big thing is how this team moves forward. And I kind of look at Zegras as, I guess, a microcosm of all the young players for this team. I think the biggest thing is we know this team's not going to be a contender. We talked about that before the season. That's like we beat a dead horse with that in all the podcasts. But this team needs to figure out how to utilize their players. And I think part of this problem, you and I have talked about this, has been chemistry. And Zegras hasn't always been on the same line. And honestly, if you look at these games, other than the 4th line, you really don't know who's going to be on what line. It's been changed up all the time and switched around. And I think that's a big problem because the guys aren't necessarily gelling. We've seen some of them do really well, and then things are switched up. And yes, injuries have been a factor. We'll go into that. That's going to mess up some stuff too now a little bit. But I think that's really the issue, is trying to pair up and find a decent line. And I was talking to one of my good buddies about this too. You remember back in the day when you had Silverberg, Cogliano, and Kessler. That line was out there every night, and you knew they were going to go against the other top line. They were going to shut them down. They were going to add some timely goals. They were going to help on the penalty kill, and that was a reliable line forwards. With this team, I feel like, well, we know the 4th line. You're going to have Grant Delorier on there. Used to be Rounding until Rounding got hurt. You're going to throw one of the other forwards down there. You know that's just the 4th line, and it is what it is. But with these forwards, the problem is you don't know who's going to be on which line and necessarily which lines 1, 2, and 3. And then with Zegras being different line mates, just like a lot of these other players, his time's all over the place, which it doesn't make sense anyways. He should still have consistent time in some of these games. If he's with a certain line, he shouldn't be held back and then substituted in with Grant Delorier. We saw that in some of those games, which I don't understand that at all. So I don't know. It's a combination of things, Eddie. I mean, I'm excited to watch these games because he's out there. He's getting assists. In some of these games, he's been really close to getting his first goal. So for me, that it is something to watch for and be excited with. But trying to work out this process of how this team is going to, go forward with the rest of the season, and then of course next year, I don't know. It's a head scratcher. It's really difficult to figure out.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I don't want to keep saying it, so I'm just going to say the I word. You can go ahead and fill it in, Mike, if you want to, but just they don't have it. And it's weird to watch, and it's like some of the moves they make are questionable. If you're going to well, there's no point to send Zegras down at all. It's just like if you want to send him down, you should have done it already because you burnt that 1 year off. It just doesn't make sense. And then if you're going to bring him up, play him. Let him get a feel. Let him embrace in that development. Let him go out there and have the opportunity to score his first goal. Let that fuse get lit and have him hungry for more. And just don't kind of don't healthy scratch them. That's what pissed me off, because like I'm sure a lot of these players, or if not every player, wants to pride themselves on being able to play every single game and not be held off a healthy scratch. Like he doesn't have that. He can't have that pride saying he started playing his first game and he hasn't missed a game in X amount of games, because they just healthy scratched him for who knows what reason. I still don't understand what the whole logic of that was. But he's getting close. He had a lot of great opportunities. That Michigan that attempt shows his confidence level he has at the NHL level, and it's only a matter of time before he gets his first goal, and then the floodgates will open. And I think with more time and more responsibility, put him out there in those high stress chances like that. In overtime, the 3-on-3, that's a stressful situation. One little mistake, and you have other guys having an automatic rush going the other way. But he held his own. He seemed like a seasoned vet, knowing exactly what he wanted to do with that puck when he had Henrique open, and he got the win for us, and it was great. He helped get the win. Obviously, he didn't score the goal, but still, I don't know. It's just weird how they're kind of managing this. I'm not the coach, so I guess I don't know what I'm talking about, but I know it's just getting frustrating to see him having a significant amount of minutes one game and then it just diminishes the next. It just doesn't seem like it's going to help him gain that momentum and that fire to kind of be consistent and kind of develop properly.
Yeah, like we said, that's been part of the issue, is having these lines and switching them out. Another part, not trying to make excuse, but our favorite thing, injuries are coming back into this, which has just been nuts. Manson was gone for a while. He comes back. Now he's out with a lower body injury. We had Terry also go out recently with an upper body injury. We saw Max Jones take a deflected puck to the face. He was out, but then he's come back and he's been playing. We also found from Eric Stevens that Jamie Drysdale took a puck to the face while he was playing for the Gulls, and that's why he's been sitting on the taxi squad, because that's been another question. A lot of people are saying, well, how come Jamie Drysdale has not come up, especially with these injuries with also Lindholm, right? We learned with his fractured wrist, he's out for 6 weeks. So now you have him out, you have Manson out again, and people were thinking maybe he would come up, but they're trying to get him going again, Drysdale that is. So I don't know if we'll see him yet or not. I guess it really depends on how long Manson is out. So that's definitely made some problems, and we've seen some issues already now. The Ducks penalty kill has just gone down big time. It used to be, one of the best in the league. Now it's under 80%. It's at 77.9, so now it's at 18%. Not doing as well there, unfortunately. The Ducks have done better on the power play and the goals for, right? The power play is up to 12.5%, and their goals for is at 2.26, which was better than like the 1 point whatever it was before, right? It's still both not great numbers, but Ducks have done a little bit better in offense, but now the defense is going down. Losing these players isn't helping either. We also know that Milano is now out too as well. They haven't really said what that injury is. As I mentioned, Rowney's going to be out for a while. Looked like he really jacked up his knee in that collision. So this is another issue, Eddie. I mean, it's just going to be a rough go of it. I think, maybe they do throw Drysdale in there. If Manson's going to be out for a while, maybe that would add some more excitement and maybe change some things up. Maybe you can throw him in there, same thing for 6 games or whatnot. I don't know. We'll have to see how it goes. But it's just like when it rains, it pours with this team. It seems like there's a combination of things going on that are working against them. I think it's the injury part is some of it. These lines that are not being consistent with Aikens in there is not helping at all. And, we'll get to it later, but, obviously there's some other issues in the front office too. But, man, you just seem like they can't get a break They with the injuries, other than we did get Cooley back. He did get off the IR, and kind of weird he was put on waivers too, like Henrique, but then he cleared, and now he's playing with the Gulls. So that's kind of where we're at with the team, Eddie. I don't know if you have anything else to kind of assess, like, why the season is the way it is, but I just think it's a combination of all these things.
Yeah, I think I finally understand what Murray meant when he said Henrique is not alone. I guess he was planning to put goalie on waivers anyway, so I guess he's not alone. I don't know. This is a weird season with everything going on in the world too. It makes it that much more weird. I guess we have to just wait and see and hope for the best, prepare for the worst. That's all we can do at this point. Still tune in, and hopefully the Ducks we can start improving those little things they need to improve on. and they can get something going and kind of just do something with this team. And I mentioned before the I word, the identity, and figure that out though. Like that's something extremely important that every team in the league needs to be moving forward and trying to find out what they're going to do and how they're going to proceed as a team. So I hope they can figure this out. They have a couple more months to play. Obviously, playoffs is kind of out of the question, so we just might as well enjoy these games as they last, even though some of them are really hard to watch and they get frustrating. But just, you're a Ducks fan, stand behind your team, win or lose, 0-82, 82-0. We're still Ducks fans. It could be worse. We could have grew up a Kings fan, and over there, and who cares? It's the Kings. But yeah, I guess, like I said, we could just hope for the best, prepare for the worst, and just know that one day this team's going to be out of this funk, and we're going to have a great future. We have Zegras coming up. He's been fun to watch. We have some other prospects that are going to come up soon enough. Hopefully this season we get a little taste of what they can do. If not, we also have other players too that are stepping up to the rink and showing what they can do and showing their potential. And who knows, hopefully like one of those will be our next star or superstar. You just never know with the development of these players, so hopefully that trends upward. But what I really want to see is the Ducks just kind of find out an identity. And if it's not the identity I want, I don't care. If it's not that dirty Ducks style of hockey that I've been desperately want and think the Ducks to have more success in, so be it. At least they have something, though. That's one thing I just really hope the Ducks can figure out before the season ends.
Exactly. It's all about the process, and trying to get this team in the right direction and then carry it on to next season, because that's what we're going to have to look forward to. It's not really, any winning anything other than trying to figure out a winning formula, I guess you could say, for this team night in and night out. So before we get to the second half, which is tons of rumors, some more league news, and some of your fan questions as well, I just want to mention that the podcast is brought to you by Manscaped.com. You can go to their website, use the code word DucksNPucks, all one word, get 20% off and free shipping. Last time we talked about it, I had used the product. I liked it. Very helpful when you got to take care of that area. And Eddie, I know that you've used it now. So what do you think of their the products that we were able to try out?
I love them. It's awesome. I love the razor, especially that light. It really clips those hairs. So sometimes I miss hair and it irritates me, and I have to just redo it again. And that it's never ending. I was really impressed with the boxer briefs they sent me. Extremely comfortable. Probably the best boxer briefs I've ever worn. And yes, this is an advertisement, but I would be saying this. I probably wouldn't be talking about my underwear on the show regardless, but no, they're just they're really comfortable, and I'm gonna make a purchase on more of them. I like the way they felt. It just felt great, but it was cool. I do want to try their nose hair trimmer, because I'm the kind of person where I feel hair and I'll get my tweezers and pluck them.
Ouch!
But I noticed when you pluck them, it hurts, number one, and then it starts getting kind of infected because it's open pore. And I researched that, so I'm gonna try out that nose hair clipper. But if you're wondering to try this out, it's a great product. I like it, and I'm really picky. My buddy, he uses it too. He used it before. I guess before it was a cool thing to do. So, I definitely recommend it.
So, check it out, manscaped.com. Like I said, use the discount code DucksNPucks. All right, well, another thing that's happened, not really a surprise or anything, but with the Ducks going on that big losing streak and everything getting crazy, there's just been rumors galore, basically, with this team, even with the coach, the GM, players. So if you love rumors, that's what we're going to go into right now. If you're tired of them, I'm sorry, but there's just a ton of them, even though some of them we pretty much know aren't going to happen, but there's some other ones that could happen. So some different ones that came up lately. Getzlaf was talked about again. We kind of got some clarity on that situation, which Eddie and I actually mentioned before when it came up earlier this season, and it's right in line with what we said. Murray, speaking on NHL.com, saying that for Getzlaf to be traded, if he wanted to go to a contender, which is what Eddie and I had talked about, especially if he was going to retire after the season, as what Murray talked about, and said that that's totally up to him. It'd have to be his decision, obviously with his no movement clause, and that there was some kind of discussion about an extension too. So it looks like it can go, one of two ways. I think Eddie and I lean more towards the extension part, because anything that would have to do with being traded, he would have to want to do that originally. And he's talked about before staying on the team and trying to win another cup. Obviously, we know it's not going to happen this season, but I'm leaning more still towards what we went with originally, Eddie. We even had a fan question from Brian B.O.Z. if we think it's time to let him go and build around a new captain. I think that's kind of one and the same thing. Maybe not necessarily. If they give him an extension, bring him back. I don't know if they necessarily make him the captain. I mean, if it's a 1-year extension like they did with Solani all that time. If it's that, or maybe they make him an alternate. I don't know. It'd be kind of interesting to see what would happen, but it would really depend on, obviously, A, him getting an extension, and B, how long it would be.
Yeah, I don't think I have an issue with Getzlaf and his captaincy. I think he's a great captain. I think he's probably the best captain in the league, if not one of the top captains in the league. I think he always has a home in Anaheim as long as he wants to keep playing. I think he's earned that right a little bit, I guess. I think he's still a player that you can build, or like he can give you so much more than what he's showing on the ice. His leadership ability, his work ethic. I guess how to handle adversity would be another one, and I think a future captain will have to know how to handle that and just kind of follow in Getzlaf's footsteps to have that success as a captain. Like you said too, Mike. We heard Murray talk to NHL.com about this. He's not going to go anywhere, and we're not really going to let him go unless he wants to. And I don't think it should be one of those things where it's like, hey, we should try to get something for Getzlaf and trade him. We're going to have to eat up some of his salary, and we're not going to get that huge of a return from a team that's just trying to load up for a cup run. I think he's good to stay as long as he wants to, and as long as he can just keep adding to something part of this game. But he's been with the organization forever, since he started his career. He helped us win a Stanley Cup, and I think he prides himself on that one team. And I think we're lucky to have a captain like him, and I want to keep him around as long as we can, and let him go when he's ready to retire, and then we can build around that. I think the most important thing right now, we can still build around a new team. It doesn't have to be the captain. There's been captains that played on fourth lines before, but they were just that captain material, even though their skill didn't match that C. You don't always have to be the best player on the ice to get the C. I know a few of the players that seemed to be trending that way, where the best player gets the C. But no, you have to be the right player for that captaincy, and I believe Getzlaf is that right captain right now, and will be the right captain for the next few seasons, and as long as he wants to stay and keep playing.
Yeah, and I think that's the key, like you said. The ball's in his court, so he'll.
You mean the puck is
or his net, whatever, however you want to play it. Some kind of sports term, right? But yeah, I mean, it's up to him. I mean, he's the one that's going to ultimately decide that, and I'm with you on that. I honestly wouldn't be upset however it works out. I know some people are like, bye, let him go and get someone else, whatever. I think he's earned the right to decide which way he wants to go, and if whichever way he goes, that's up to him. And to me, that's not really going to upset me that much, or that big of a deal to me, honestly. But if he does want to keep playing and stay a couple more seasons, I think it would still help the Ducks. I think he still has game left, and I think he still adds value, like you talked about. But that's one piece, I guess, of where the team's going to go in the future, right? The direction. Another big piece that came up just this last week is Ricardo Raquel. He has been on fire. Like we said, 12 points in the last 7 games. And because of that, he ends up as number 3 on TSN's Trade Bait Top 20 list. And we've also heard that Calgary has inquired on Raquel, and that they have been told that the price is too high. So this is an interesting situation too, because I like Raquel. I think he adds a lot of value to the team. We're in a situation now where his value is extremely high. If you want to trade him now and get, a top draft pick, some prospects, or maybe a roster type player that you really think is going to help, and other stuff, I mean, this is the time to do it. Emotionally, I like him, and I'd rather keep him on the team. But if you're talking about just strictly trade value, this is, maybe now or a little bit closer to trade deadline, if he keeps on doing the way he is, I mean, this is a pretty good window right now to see what the Ducks could get for him, Eddie.
Oh yeah, and I like how you added there that emotion word, because I have that emotion too to the player. I like him. He's one of my favorite players in the Ducks. I have his jersey. I got to meet him, and he signed my jersey. So it's like I have that attachment to him. But then again, I want to do what's best for the Ducks, and like I know it's a kind of a overused terminology, but that logo on the front's more important than the name on the back. So as long as we can get the Ducks winning, that's all I care about. With that said, he's hot right now. He's on fire, and his value is just trending sky high. I think he could, probably be worth a first round and a top prospect, especially with how high his ceiling is right now. Those 12 points in the last 7 games, he's just playing nuts. It seems like the puck is finding him, and he has that confidence back again. Yeah, he had that slow start, but he just kept saying like he was just gonna go out there and he's gonna just play his game, and everything else will come. The points will come, and he was right. It is coming, and he's playing well. And the only point, or the only time he didn't have a point, was his last loss against the Kings. But other than that, he's been consistent. So, like, teams can see that potential in Raquel, and how he can get on the score sheet consistently. It's especially playing on a team like the Ducks right now, where they're that bottom team. So if the Ducks really want something to do something drastic and move into that rebuilding faster, they can trade Raquel, and they're going to get a huge return for him. And it's weird that Calgary inquired about him too. So obviously teams are calling about him, and the more points and the more he stays hot, they're going to keep calling on him. I just, if they're planning to trade him, so like you said, this would be the time to do it right now. Don't wait until he starts cooling down, his value starts going down, or some of these teams that would overpay for him go out and get someone else and overpay for someone else. So you have to make a decision on that too. Or you could just take a gamble, wait to the deadline, where a lot of teams do kind of overpay, but I'm not sure if it's going to be that crazy this deadline, especially with the shortened season and everything. So you have to figure out what you want to do, and not just kind of sit in your thumbs and Ducks get 2 wins and think you're off the hook for the rest of the month, not to do anything to make this team better.
Yeah, and it's kind of a repeat of the Henrique situation. You know what I mean? I mean, we talked about that news of New Jersey looking into him, right? Mentioned the taxi squad. He, cleared waivers and got put back on the roster. But he was at a point, too, where he was just killing it last year, and the Ducks could have got a ton for him. And it didn't happen, and now they're, trying to do that here, and it didn't work, right? It kind of backfired on the Ducks because his contract was too much. Nobody even claimed him off waivers. So with Raquel, if you let that window go and he doesn't stay hot, I mean, it's a gamble. It could potentially be a similar situation. The only difference I would say, you and I talked about this before the show, was that if you put Raquel on waivers, he's going to get picked up. He doesn't have this crazy high amount contract like Henrique does. So that, and obviously that's not going to happen. The Ducks aren't going to do that. But I'm just saying, right now, not only is he playing well, but his contract's super affordable. I mean, you have a lot of options with Raquel that you had some with Henrique, and now they're completely gone. So it'll be curious to see what the Ducks do with that situation. And then Henrique, too, another team that maybe cropped up that we were talking about, Eddie, was Columbus, because they're looking for a center. And that was from Elliot Freeman. So, I mean, I think we got to look at both these guys and see what happens the next couple of weeks leading up to the trade deadline.
Yeah, it's going to be weird. I can't see Henrique going at the trade deadline, especially with his cap. It's gonna do if he goes, we're gonna have to take on a bad contract. We're gonna have to eat up some salary. I can't see a team doing a swap. It's gonna be too many moving parts for Murray to handle. So I don't think he's gonna do that. Raquel is one of those things where you just never know what's going to happen. All it takes is for the team to offer the right amount, to offer that little bit of overpayment, or for Murray's case, a player that he's had his eye on for the last few seasons, and just kind of entice him to trade. But it's going to be interesting, like how this trade deadline works, and what the approach Murray's going to take when it comes up, and who's going to stay with the Ducks and who's not, especially if they continue to drop games like they did in that last one against the Kings, when they just had zero fight at all. So it might be a big eventful one, or the Ducks just might not do anything at all and stay put, knowing that they're going to be, out of a playoff contention soon enough.
Yeah, another name that comes up that I would say would go more with the Raquel type thing would be Heinen. You remember there was about a week there where the big part was the Canucks and the Ducks, talking about him, and Virtanen too as well. They had Thomas Drance from The Athletic was talking about it. That came up. Again, Elliot Freeman, he was talking about Grant possibly as being someone that Vancouver would look at. But looking at Heinen, I mean, he hasn't played a lot. He's been scratched. This is one of the things that a lot of people have been upset with too, is you have Zegras not getting as much ice time. You had Terry and Heinen being scratched, where Grant and Delorier were in more. And we're talking about, well, where's this team going to progress and go towards? It just seems like, to me, it's inevitable with Heinen that he's going to get traded. Maybe it doesn't work out with Vancouver. I don't. Virtanen, it's weird. He's played well for a couple seasons, and then now he's not playing so well. So his value has really dropped. And I would keep Heinen over him, but it still doesn't mean that there could be some kind of other deal for him to go somewhere else. I mean, it just seems like, I don't know if he's in the doghouse or what's going on, but he just has not been out there that much in these last several games, Eddie.
Yeah, it's almost pointless to even keep him around if you're not going to play him. You might as well just see who wants to trade for him, or see if you can bring someone that gels or meshes better, or I guess one of those change of sceneries if you have another player that has that potential, and maybe a change of scenery can spark something up for him. Then go ahead and trade him. It just makes no sense just to keep having him around on the taxi squad, or having him around just being scratched all the time. If he's going to be get traded. Just for Virtanen, I don't want him traded for him. Doesn't seem like it's going to help the Ducks, all so much. And whatever issues he's having in Vancouver seems like just be brought up to the Ducks. Just too inconsistent for me. But I don't know. That's a really, really weird one. And maybe he's in the doghouse. Maybe he did something that the coach didn't like, and that's warranted all the scratches. Or maybe their intention is not to keep him long term, and they don't want to keep playing him, and he gets injured, and they're kind of just stuck with him. So I don't know. Hope they have to figure that out, and hopefully, if they do trade him, they trade him soon, and the Ducks can get someone that can kind of bring a little bit more scoring. Scoring, that's what we desperately need to the Ducks.
Yeah, I mean, I'd watch that name. I just think that's one of the ones that if it's going to get moved, I think he is, just because of what we've seen so far. He just hasn't been out there. Another one that was kind of surprising is Delorier talked about on Pittsburgh Hockey Now that they had talked about the Penguins maybe wanting to add some grit. I know you found this when you were looking up some of these other rumors and stuff. I thought this one was kind of interesting. We heard about the other kind of BS with Gibson and the Pittsburgh, which I really don't see that happening. You can listen to that show because we went into all that. But this one's kind of a surprise to me. I don't know. Delorier get moved. I don't know if the Ducks would want to do that. I think he still brings value to the team. Obviously, he's not a high-scoring guy, right? He's more of a role player. He's that fourth-line guy getting into more physical stuff, fights and whatnot, standing up for his teammates, things like that. But I think he still has, value for the team. I don't know. I just don't see him getting moved. But it's kind of interesting that, if a team wants grit and they want someone like that, and they talk about the Penguins, maybe there is a market for him. But I would tell you I'd be bummed, because this is one of the guys I really like, just because of the way that he stands up for the team and delivers those hits and fights when he needs to. Because, like we said, he's kind of that old school dirty duck type player. So I don't know. What do you think about Delorier? I'm kind of on the fence. I don't think he would get traded, but if someone really wants a grit player and they overpay, then maybe he is on the chopping block.
Yeah, I don't know. I believe that for contending teams, there would probably be a market for him, especially he brings that grit, and he's one of those players that, hey, if you're gonna run around and start knocking our top players, you're gonna have to answer to me. And he was the league leader in fights last season, so obviously he doesn't shy away from dropping the gloves, and he's one of those players, kind of the Ryan Reeves kind of level player, where you just don't want to mess with him or mess with the team, knowing you have to deal with him. There would be a market. I'm sure teams will call Murray about him. I don't want him to go. I think he still adds value to the Ducks. He can chip in those occasional points, but he does bring that grit, and he has that kind of the intimidation factor. We have a lot of young guys, and I just don't want to see these other teams kind of take liberties or taking runs at Zegras more often because they don't have a player like Delorier that can keep them in line and kind of police the other players. Yeah, it's just one of those names mentioned because the Pittsburgh Penguins do need to add some grit to their lineup. Delorier was one of the names mentioned, but I don't think he goes anywhere. I think he's safe for the trade deadline and safe for the trades coming up. But you just never know. You just never know if the right deal can come, or you have no idea what Murray's thinking, or we see Delorier on waivers one day. Just he's not alone again. Like, who knows? I hope he doesn't go having that emotional attachment to the player because I do like him a lot. He's my favorite player on the Ducks right now. But also that professional opinion that I don't want him to go because then we really are one less guy to police the ice. And with Manson out too, that would be two guys less to go do that policing to other teams if they want to try to take liberties. Our young players, our up and coming potential star players.
Oh, I agree with you 100%, and he's one of my favorites too. So, I hope that he stays as well. I think the one that we know, which I don't know why he came up again, but Gibson was mentioned by SB Nation, and I'm kind of tired of this, but I bring it up because people are bringing it up. To me, I don't know if anybody's really 100% safe on this team, but if there's one player that I would pick and say, hey, I'm pretty sure he's going to be here for a while, or at least through the end of the season, I would say Gibson. This article kind of reaffirmed that. They said that the Sabres had shown interest in Gibson in the offseason. They said they hit up the Ducks recently too as well, and the Ducks just told them no, which we pretty much figured was the answer anyways. I mean, not really surprised. But it just goes back to, are the Ducks getting phone calls on players? Of course they are. They're going to be getting a lot. The rumors are going to keep on going because the team has been losing. Yeah, they got out of the losing streak. They won a couple games, but now they had this horrible game against the Kings, and then who knows what's going to happen the rest of the way. But with the Ducks being down towards the bottom, there's going to be tons of these rumors going around, Eddie. But I don't know how you feel, but I'm pretty confident unless someone's going to, it'd have to be some mega crazy good offer, but I just don't see Gibson getting moved, at least not in the near future.
Oh, no. And like I said before, I can see Wild Wing getting traded before I see Gibson getting traded. I don't think he's going anywhere at all. I think if you're every team in the NHL that aren't the Tampa Bay Lightning, you're going to be calling to see if Gibson's available. That's the right thing to do. He's probably the top top 5 goalie in the league. I want to say before the Ducks' atrocious play, he was probably the number 2 goalie in the whole entire league. So it'd be dumb enough for teams that want a goalie that's locked in long term at his caliber not to be calling on the Ducks to see if he's available. That aren't Tampa Bay, because Tampa Bay has Vasilevsky, and he's the best goalie in the league. I want to say so. He's not going anywhere. The only way I could see Gibson getting traded is if you bring in another GM, you fire Murray, you bring in someone else that doesn't have any attachment to these players, someone that wants to really shake things up and bring a huge and massive return to the Ducks to kind of expedite this rebuilding process, but that's really slim. It's not going to happen. And even if that does happen, Murray does get fired, I still can't see someone trading Gibson, especially a quality goaltender that can be a superstar with the right team around him. Well, he is a superstar. I'm sorry. He is a superstar, but be that next level goalie with the right team around him.
And it's funny because you bring up the whole thing about Murray and the change of the front office and all that. So we had all these rumors going around this last, week and a half or so. So no one's immune to these rumors, right? So then another one comes out with Murray and Aikens as well, because you all know that Daryl Sutter's now gone. He ended up, he was being an advisor to the Ducks. He ended up going to Calgary as the coach there. And Canadian radio's talking about the Ducks and things going on. And they were saying that Murray was going to boot Aikens and give Sutter the job. And that basically Sutter was, turning down the job because he didn't want to have to cross the U.S.-Canadian border because, he lives up in Canada. And basically that all fell apart in the interview or the press conference when they named him as coach, because he talked about wanting to go to either Calgary or Chicago. Well, Chicago is in the United States the last time I checked, so the whole thing about him not going to Anaheim over the border or whatever, that pretty much fell apart. And I just don't see that as any of the issue. And then, Murray also recently had his comments about saying that he has faith in Aikens to counteract that. So unless that's a complete BS, I don't see, him trying to push Aikens out and then bring in Sutter. Obviously, that didn't happen. I've talked to some sources too connected to the team, and they never heard anything like that. So it's just more and more stuff going on with these rumors. I think the thing too, a lot of us have talked about this. We've had poll questions, and a lot of you are frustrated with Aikens and Murray, and you want them gone and moved out. And a lot of people have been harping on Aikens too with what's been going on. And I feel it with what a lot of you are saying as far as the lineups, the ice time. Why are you putting in these certain players and then the other guys are benched and things like that? So I'm not surprised that these kind of things are coming up with these guys. But as far as the direction of this team and trying to fix it, and just in general, because we're talking about players, now we might as well talk about the coach and the GM and rumors about them. I don't really see anything happening with either one of them. I just don't right now, unfortunately. And I saw some people talking about, maybe they just write out their contract and then the owners let them go or bring back one and not the other. And it seems like that's kind of the path that we're on. I mean, the thing for me is I don't think if you just take out Aikens that's really going to do anything, because if you take him out, you still have Murray around. So that's my issue. Is if you're going to take out Aikens, you might as well take out Murray too. And I don't know. I just don't really see that happening, Eddie. I think more of these types of rumors are going to come up because, again, the Ducks are losing. They're not doing well. You're going to see everybody's name mentioned in there, except for Wild Wing, right? So it's just gotten crazy with this stuff. It seems like every other day somebody's posting an article or a social media post talking about this kind of stuff, and of all of them, this is the one I think least likely to happen. The only way I see this is, like you talked about, a big major shakeup, new owners take over the team, the Ducks get sold or something, or there's like some crazy massive losing streak again, another 9-10 game losing streak. Maybe something shakes up stuff. But barring any of that, I just don't see there being a change with Aikens and Murray, this season.
So the rumor of you trading yourself from Ducks and Pucks wasn't true either. I was kind of wondering if like how the hell you're going to trade yourself out of Ducks and Pucks.
Yeah, you try to work it out somehow. You know what I mean?
No, you know what? I know some of these rumors, and I know some pages that post them, and fans are like, oh well, they're not credible. Well, the fans blow them up, and then other people start getting wind of it, and it just spirals out of control. So we have to talk about them. We have to discuss them. We get a lot of questions for them too. A lot of fans, they have full-time jobs. They have other responsibilities where they don't have the time to sit there and research and to validate all these claims. So it's kind of our job as a running and part of Ducks and Pucks to, if you have a question or if something comes up, Ducks related, for us to do our due diligence and do research and be able to discuss it and give our opinion and tell you, hey, well, here's the sources we get it from, or here's just someone blowing smoke, but it blew up and we have to discuss it. I don't think some of these rumors, some of them are really far-fetched and just seem made up. But, hey, we're still here because obviously they blew up and they had so much fan and engagement and so many fan questions that we had to discuss them. That's why I kind of make the joke about Mike being traded. He's not going anywhere, so don't panic.
Yeah, you're just gonna have to expect this, and that's why we address this too, because some of them blow up, and then then my phone starts blowing up, and I get messages and DMs and texts about this, that, and the other thing, and then a lot of times, I've started holding back on stuff. I'm not commenting on things as much as I used to because I'm just not going to feed into some of this. I mean, some of it we try to comment on right away, or we see something and we try to talk about it. But some of these other ones, there's certain websites too that thrive on this. There's that one, the NHL Trade Rumor website, right? They also talked about Akins and Murray, and we've heard that website talk about Getzlaf too and other players in the past. And then there's no sources, there's no nothing. It's just, oh, this could happen, or they just take what some other person said and then they just repeat it. So if something is posted by someone, they're just like, oh. They said that this guy might be traded, and now we're going to say he's going to go to this team. And we're like, what? What are you talking about? Like, they just said that he's on the trade bait list. They didn't say this or that, or whatnot. So just always think about that. Consider it. If it's a website that's a rumor website, well, that's what they do. They post rumors because they want people to look at their website. I mean, I'm not saying that that's wrong or right or whatever. I'm just saying that is what it is. That's what they do. I mean, that's what they're geared towards, where ours is geared towards the Ducks, right? And how well or poorly they're doing, and then all these kind of things. So it's just not going to stop. There's going to be plenty of stuff coming out. And I just, like I said, I think some players will get traded. Absolutely. I think we're going to see that happen for sure. I just don't see the changes with Akins and Murray. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, man, that makes me mad. I get it. I totally get it, but I really think that Murray does have faith in Akins. From what he said, I'm taking at face value, and I think the owners have kind of given Murray the keys, and he runs the team with maybe a few exceptions on maybe big trades or something like that, or buyouts or things like that. But I think he runs most of it, and I know that the owners go to most of the games. From the employees that do actually get to go to the games, I've heard they're there, they're watching. I don't know if they're seeing what we're seeing. Maybe they're seeing something different. Unfortunately, they're not really that available to the media, right? We hear from Akins all the time. We hear from Murray here and there, but we don't hear from the owners at all. So I think that kind of adds to the problem of this team too, is trying to know what direction this team is going and what they want to do and how they're going to fix it. And I think, unfortunately, no communication doesn't help in this situation. When you're winning, right, everything's fine. It doesn't matter. You don't care if you win by a goal or 10 goals. You keep winning most of the games. Winning solves everything. Then when you're losing and you keep on losing, the opposite. Whether it's 1 goal, 10, whatever, questions start flying, right? And the owners have been silent. They haven't really said anything. So we're kind of like, okay, are we going to ride it out with Murray and Dallas in there, or what? Like, what's going on? Or are we going to, go big and trade a whole ton of people? Like send Getzlaf to a team that can win a cup. Get Raquel, the value's high. Try and, do Henrique again. Like all these other things. And I think that's where a lot of fans are getting frustrated now, because it's not just the losing. It's what's the process? Where are we going for the rest of the season and beyond? And we don't really know 100%, Eddie, and hence why we're talking about all this.
Yeah, I can see fans losing their minds come trade deadline, and Murray does his usual, just 1-for-1 swap trades for kind of the similar player you're trading for, or he just brings in like a seventh defenseman or something weird like that. It's just going to push fans over the edge. That's just going to be kind of crazy. But I wish there was more communication on what's going to happen and what's going to go on. As of now, we don't know. I know the Rangers a few seasons ago got some crap because they posted a letter out telling their fans basically we're calling it and we're just going to go on a full rebuild. I huge respect for them doing that. And I can appreciate them being honest and upfront with their fans. The only issue I had with that is they did it way too soon. Like, I don't even think they were fully out of a playoff spot before that letter went out. But at least they had that communication with their fans. And I wish the Ducks would kind of give that same communication to their fans and let them know what direction their team is going in, or what's going on. Like, these little cute words they keep using, it's not cutting and it's not really working out. And fans are just so like, okay, well, what's going on? You have a lot of fans asking, well, hey, can the Ducks go on a big win streak and make the playoffs? Or can the Ducks do it? It's like, we don't know. I mean, obviously, it's not really going to matter here, but it's just, it's a lot of false hope. And that's what's kind of getting me annoyed and irritated. Just be upfront and be straight out with the fans. If you see this team the way it is and you call it anything but a rebuild, then obviously something's wrong and you shouldn't be in an advisory role or a professional role with the Ducks if you can't see this team for what it is. And these, like I said, these cute words that Murray likes to use, these little feel good words, it gets annoying. I just wish they would just be up front, be like, look, the team stinks. It's going in that direction. We're working on it. We have a lot of stuff we have to do. Bear with us. I hope you're with us, through the good times and bad times, but at least we have some kind of direction and know what's going to go on. Right now, no one knows anything.
Yeah, we're just in the dark. I mean, that's the big problem, unfortunately. And I think, like I said, a lot of people don't necessarily talk about it. It seems like a lot of people are so focused on Akins and Murray, which I totally get that 100%. But, I mean, what are we doing as an organization? I mean, nobody can legitimately answer that because we really don't know. I mean, it's a win now. I mean, come on, let's be serious. This isn't a win now. Let's be real. That's no. I'm sorry. Like, I get so irritated with all that stuff. If you're thinking bringing in Shattenkirk is your big move in the offseason, and then bringing Grant back, and then you're going to win now with just those couple moves. I mean, come on. I mean, yeah, you tried to build up the defense and help out a little bit and whatnot. I get it, but kind of in the dark. So we're starting to wrap up the show, but we've got a couple things around the league we want to talk about. There is some interesting stuff going on with the draft and television and things like that. Maybe some stuff that'll be a little bit better because we went off on the draft lottery last time. We weren't really happy about it. I know a lot of you have not been happy about the TV coverage and things like that, so I'll have Eddie kind of go into some of these, and then we'll answer a couple of your fan questions real quick, and that'll be it. But you want to talk about some of the league news, Eddie, for this next segment?
Yeah, I wanted to start off with a "Did you know" thing. I came across a few clips, and I did some research, and I found an LA Times article by Helene Elliott. And apparently Wayne Gretzky wanted to sign with the Ducks, but they didn't want to pay him more than Slonny and Korea were making at that time. It was about $3 million. Gretzky thought it would be exciting to come to this organization owned by a successful global corporation as Disney, but they just didn't want to pay him more than Slonny and Korea. But I think that would have been crazy. He ended up going to the Rangers. He wanted to play with Mark Messier too. So he ended up going over there, but I think it would have been kind of surreal and kind of insane to even have seen Gretzky in a Ducks uniform. I think that would have been nuts. Gretzky, Slonny, and Korea, that just would have been like out of this world. Even though Gretzky was 35 years old at the time and he was kind of dwindling down in his career, it still would have been something exciting and pretty cool to see. Just seeing Gretzky's name on a Ducks jersey, that's just really odd. And I didn't know this at all until I came across these clips. And even when I came out some of these clips, like, no, that can't be true. Someone's just blowing smoke up my butt and trying to get me to bite in, which I did because I went and researched it more. But I found the article. I was like, oh, pretty much it was true. His agent talked about it too. I'm like, all right, that's pretty insane. That'd have been nuts, Mike. Imagine seeing Gretzky. I would have had a Ducks Gretzky jersey. I think everyone would have had a Ducks Gretzky jersey.
Yeah, that would have been crazy. I mean, what would the Kings fans have done? It would be like,
they would have lost.
You know what I mean?
Mind.
It would have been like we know Solani, right? He went to the Sharks for that brief moment in his career, which a lot of people don't talk about. But if Solani went to the Kings, oh man, I don't know. I don't know what I would do. So it's like if Gretzky came to the Ducks for a little bit during that time, I mean, we would have been like, hell yeah, like. How would they have been? They would have been like, really? You could have gone to any team, but you went to the Ducks? Like imagine if Solani went to the Kings. I mean, we would have been, we would be like, what? What are you talking about? So that is crazy. And I wonder what would have happened, one of those what ifs. So that is very interesting. And I did want to add too that we sent our condolences to his family too, because just this past week, Wayne's father, Walter, did pass away. So just wanted to put that in there too. Trying to keep it positive, but I mean, we want to give out our wishes to their family as well. But yeah, definitely would have been a crazy time, Eddie, for sure.
Yeah, and Slonny never played on the San Jose Sharks, and that's my lie, and I'm sticking to it. I choose to erase that part of my Slonny history out of my database in my head. I just don't want to picture that. I'm getting sick to my stomach. I feel like vomiting. Think of that. So that's just one thing that I'll keep. I'll just lie to myself and say that never happened. So moving forward, the draft lottery. I know a lot of people, it's kind of weird and how a lot of people seem like it was rigged and blah, blah, blah. Not to go back and talk about the past and bring that back up, but it seems like they're trying to change it up a little bit. Chris Johnston reported that some potential changes are going to be teams limited to no more than 2 lottery wins in a 5-year period. So they want to avoid the kind of Edmonton thing, winning, and just not really going anywhere after that. Teams are going to be only allowed to jump 10 spots with a lottery win, and reduction in number of picks decided by lottery from 3 to 2. I think these changes are good, especially limiting teams winning that lottery, because it just kind of wasn't fair. How many chances do you have to give Edmonton to win that many times and then them still be that bad of a team? And I really do feel bad for players like Draisaitl and Connor McDavid. They're exciting players, and I think on other teams they would be thriving and probably be trying to rack up championship or Stanley Cup championships, but for some reason Edmonton just can't get it together, and they always just have that bad luck, that curse where they can't make that next step, especially when they have the top player in the world on their team, and then Draisaitl was probably a top 5 player in the world in their team. So I don't know. I like these changes they're proposing, and I hope they move forward with them and make the draft, I guess, a little bit fair for other teams too.
Yeah, I'm with you too, because one of the complaints that we had in this last one was you had the ability of any team to move up, and so I mean it was a little bit different. Obviously, we had that weird playoff, right, where you had these teams that had spots, but you didn't know what the teams were because they hadn't played those series, and it was all weird. But the fact that those could jump up so high, and then they actually did, I just thought that was ridiculous. I felt that it, I wrote the article on it. We talked about on the show that they should have kept it to the actual bottom. I forgot what we said, 7 teams or 10 teams or whatever it was that number was. It escapes me right now. But they should keep it to that and limit it. You shouldn't be this quasi playoff team and then be able to jump in a top 3 pick. I just think that's ridiculous. So I'm happy with these, if they all go through or some of them go through, Eddie.
Yeah, and then our next thing too, ESPN, they signed a 7-year deal. So NHL TV is going to be merging and will not exist anymore. So I guess the ABC/ESPN coverage will be handling 4 of the 7 Stanley Cup Finals, 1 conference final, 25 regular season games, and then ESPN Plus will stream more than 1,100 games. ESPN and Hulu will exclusively stream 75 national games. Regional blackouts still will apply, so if you have trying to watch the Ducks on Fox Sports West and you don't have Spectrum or DirecTV, then you're kind of just stuck. You're stuck in the same situation that you were in, and you won't be able to watch them. So I really hope something gets figured out and fans were able to watch their games.
I agree. We had, what was it? L. Kloss asked, as much as ESPN is annoying, what are we most excited about seeing from this new TV deal? I mean, some of the sound effects, right? I saw some people cracking up about that, right? The old school Mighty Ducks footage with the ESPN sounds. That cracked me up. That brought me back to the early days. So I'm looking forward to that. But I do hope it helps with people seeing more games. But I'm with you. I think for the Ducks, with Fox Sports and prime tickets, so to speak, I don't know if it's really going to help as much. But maybe with some, those national televised type games and things like that. I just hope that it's more accessible to people, just the sport in general, if that'll work out. But, they're still going to have those blackouts too. So I kind of got mixed feelings. It's kind of, like I said, brings me back to the old days, but I do want to see how it's going to play out. I think it's going to help in general, but I don't know if it's going to really help, all of us Duck fans as much.
Yeah, I have personal opinions on ESPN. I don't like them, so I'm not too excited about that, and that's just my personal opinions that I won't go on the show with. But I just want to see these games more accessible to fans, so they can watch them. I think if it can bring more fans, especially ESPN Plus. I know a lot of people have Disney Plus, Disney Plus, Hulu, in that package. So if more fans can have that availability to watch the game, it might bring in different fan bases and stuff like that too. NHL TV, it's going to be hard to kind of convince someone that's never watched hockey to pay that monthly fee or pay that one-time cost for it. But if you already have ESPN or Hulu or something like that, it might entice fans to to try to go out there and watch, or not fans, but like fans of other sports, like people that just like sports in general. If they see a hockey game on, they might be like, hey, well, it's on ESPN Plus. Let me just check it out, and they might fall in love with the sport, and boom, you have a new fan. So I think that's the most exciting thing I'm happy about, and I really hope they figure out these regional blackouts and have Ducks fans have some more access to it, because it's not really fair where you just kind of limited on what you can watch and what you can't.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm hoping, like we said, that it's going to work out better for them in the long run. So we'll have to see what happens with that. Whether you like them or not, they're coming. So we'll keep an eye on that, and we'll talk about it more as it develops later on down the road. With that, we'll kind of wrap up. We've got tons of fan questions, kind of run out of time, but we'll take a couple of them here, and we're sorry for the other ones we didn't get to. I know we answered some throughout the show as well, but we had a couple more, obviously with the direction of the team, kind of similar themes. We had Yo Hey, it's Chris on the IG asking about the assistant coaches, which is kind of interesting because a lot of people don't talk about that. They keep talking about Aikens and Murray, and he's talking about getting rid of some of them to improve the power play. And then we also have the Jet 323. He says, who gets fired at the end of the season if the Ducks do bad, which is what I was talking about, is that I feel like this team would have to, just completely go on another crazy losing streak for anything to change. And the assistant coaches, yeah, that's another take. It's tough. I really think that, yes, the power play, it's been bad, and it's been bad for a while. So I think if everything has a complete meltdown, I think Murray might boot Aikens and all the other supporting staff, or some kind of combination of that at the end of the season. I could see something like that. As far as Murray getting the boot, I don't know. We talked about it earlier, Eddie, with the owners and stuff. I really don't know if that would happen, but I could see some kind of shakeup if the Ducks just like straight up tank and do poorly, which is also kind of, some other people have asked that question too. Are the Ducks trying to tank? And I've seen people out there about that. I've even seen, I think it was Bettman made a comment about that, like, well, teams don't tank and whatnot. So there's part of that in there too. Because we have the draft. Obviously, the Ducks want to get a higher pick, but then don't forget, this is kind of morphed into a lot of things. But the factor of this, we have the regular draft and the expansion draft as well, right? And then because this last year was so effed up as far as our schedules and routines and who's playing where, minor league hockey being canceled and some things then being brought back, it's really hard to determine what players will necessarily be available and how good they will be for this upcoming draft. I think that's a huge problem too. So I think in terms of Murray, they might, like I said, hang on to him because of the drafting stuff, even though we know it's Madden doing a lot of the stuff and a lot of the rest of the staff. I think that's part of the reason why he would stay. But as far as the coaches on the ice and all that stuff, if things continue to go downhill, I think then you may see some talks and some movement there. But that's my take on these questions. Still got, a month and a half to go, but maybe it happens.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't think I can really add anything more to what you said, because everything you talked about, I probably would have said too, so I'm not going to repeat that. I do think, though, if it came down to it and Murray got pressured, if those wins or those losses start piling up again, I think he'd be forced to fire the head coach, Dallas Aikens. I think he would just fire him just to kind of save face for himself, to let the owners know, look, I'm trying to do everything I can. I make this difficult decision to let go of the coach. Is it going to be his fault completely, the head coach? No, but I think it's something that Murray will have to do just to show, like, hey, I'm doing something to try to get this team to go in a different direction. But I can't see any of that happening anytime soon. I think if we see anything, it's going to come next season, but not this season at all. And like you've said too about if they go on a losing streak again, I still can't see them firing any of the coaches or firing Murray. If they do just go to full tank, I think they're just going to ride it out until the offseason, and then changes, if any, will be made.
And that's the sad part. That's what people are thinking, I like this other question too. This one was kind of interesting. AVVN.S asked, if the Ducks played, or do you think the Ducks would have more difficulty getting wins in a different division this year? And I don't really look at it that way. I don't think You could look at these other divisions. Yeah, you got some other teams out there not doing as well, but I really don't think if you put the Ducks in any other division, like they would magically like do better. I mean, like we said, bringing in these other teams and rearranging it, we knew that wasn't going to help the team. We already knew, like, bringing in Colorado, St. Louis, Minnesota, these teams, we knew it wasn't going to work in their favor. But I don't think rearranging it would help them at all. In any way, I think some of the teams in the East too are just as tough, and I think the Ducks being in the bottom of the division now, I just don't see a lot of movement. I think they'd be in the bottom of any division. Sadly, I just don't see changing the teams that they're playing is really the issue. It's the Ducks themselves that need to change and improve.
Maybe the North or Mountain Division of the East Coast Hockey League. They might get a few more wins if they were in that division. No, I'm kidding. No, I think it'd be the same outcome, especially if you look at their points that they have right now and look at all the other divisions and their point standings. The Ducks would still be in a bottom 3 spot. So it doesn't really matter what division they're playing in, the 4 divisions that are in the NHL. They'd still be in that bottom spot. And the Ducks, and I think I want to say a lot of these games are their own worst enemy, and they're the ones that caused themselves to lose. Because we've seen teams just play mediocre, not have their best game, and the Ducks still make them look like they're playing better than they actually are. So it's just one of those seasons. We're gonna have to just ride through it and hope for the best. If not, crack open a few more beers. I'm still dry this year. I haven't had my first drink. It's tempting, especially watching some of these games. But hopefully, I hit my goal in the next 6 weeks. I can have a beer. And hopefully, I can celebrate with a Ducks win or something. But it's just hang in there,
yeah,
guys.
I mean that is the case, and I'll end it with, I guess, one like off the wall question, because we do like different things, and this is one where Eddie and I actually disagree, but or I don't know if it's disagree, but maybe preference, I guess. But this one was funny. We had Shredden37 ask, what is your favorite lesser known horror film or films, Eddie?
I know he mentioned he liked the movie The Thing in 1982. I want to say Stephen King's Thinner is a lesser known, or maybe because it's kind of so old, back in 96, a lot of people don't really discuss it or talk about it. Some of the actors that were in it, I just liked it for some reason. It was good. I've watched it like 100 times. I watched it recently too. I forgot what platform it was on, but I watched it. I just pictured that old man saying thinner. But yeah, that's probably like my favorite lesser known horror films. If it even is a lesser known, maybe it's lesser known to me because it's kind of 96, I guess. Who knows? But I'm a big horror fan. I love horror movies. That's my favorite genre of movies. I like the gory stuff and the weird kind of stuff like that. My favorite, I guess, now horror movie, since I'm discussing it, is probably The Conjuring. That was the one that scared me a lot. Like, that was a scary one, but it was good. I liked it. So it was a good question. Thanks. If you guys have any questions, like off the wall ones, we're here to answer them, just to kind of throw some fun into it. I know it sometimes gets a little frustrating having to talk about the Ducks losing streaks, this and that. So if you guys have any other questions that you want to hear, or if you have some of our sponsors, you have questions for that, shoot us those questions too. We'll be happy to answer them. If not, we can always answer them through DMs. I know a lot of you guys DM us, and we go back and forth and talk. I would throw out your names. I don't know if you want to be mentioned in the show, though, so I just, out of respect, I won't. But we appreciate it. I'm sure Mike appreciates it. I appreciate it. There's a few of you I go back and forth with almost daily, just talking about the team. So just keep it up. Thanks for the questions, and thanks for listening.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, I don't like horror movies. Sorry, this is where Eddie and I don't agree. We'll go to a movie, but I'm not going with you to a horror movie.
Yeah, but you've been watching like a similar a sort of horror movie for the last few weeks for the Ducks losing streak. I guess that could be scary.
I guess that would be a horror movie. The Ducks on Ice. Would that be the 2021 horror movie? I mean, you could count that. I mean, the way it's going. Yeah, I guess that, and that would be a lesser known horror film, right? Yeah, terrible.
Maybe that Disney Plus show of the Mighty Ducks bringing maybe that will produce some more offense and, I guess, more entertaining Ducks hockey. I know Mark asked that too, so we can just wait and see when that releases on Disney Plus.
Yeah,
Hopefully it's not too scary or bad.
Yes, and I do want to see that. That I am excited for. So some good stuff too, though, for you guys. Don't forget, Mercury Insurance is doing their giveaway of like flat screen TVs, jerseys, and all this stuff. Check out their website, mercuryinsurance.com/ducks to enter that. You only have a few more days left. I believe it's March 15th is the cutoff. You can also post a hashtag with a photo or video of you doing some duck stuff. Or wearing some gear or whatnot. Mercury Ducks Superfan is the hashtag to look at. And they also gave us some stuff to give away. I'm happy to tell you that we have an autographed Lindholm puck and autographed Getzlaf jersey to give away. And we'll kind of do what we did before. We'll kind of play that word game. So this show and the next couple shows, you'll listen for a couple words at the end. And then we'll tell you when it's done. You'll just email in the response and we'll pick 2 winners out of that. So the word for this show will be ducks, plural. So just listen up for a couple more, like I said. We'll put them together and we'll be able to give those away to you. So check out Mercury Insurance. We're happy that they included us in this and trying to promote their contest and giveaway. And then they gave us some stuff to turn around and give to you. So look for that. And then, like I said, check out manscaped.com. Use the discount code DucksNPucks for 20% off and free shipping. So we'll try to have these, like we normally do, have the shows more regularly. But Eddie and I have had like crazy just schedules, so things have been weird. But it means longer, more jam-packed shows for you guys. So obviously we're going to cover all that stuff. And like I said, there's going to be more and more stuff that's going to happen. This is, one of the more interesting teams in the NHL, as they always say. So with that, let's just ride this out for this season, and let's go Ducks.